Credit Union. They're enriching people every day. Federally insured by NCUA, Equal Housing Opportunity Lender.
Create great futures for young people when you run or walk at McKenzie's Run Saturday, November 18th. Join Boys and Girls Clubs of Northeast Florida for a 5K and 1 mile fun run through the stadium course at TPC Sawgrass. Register at mckenziesrun.org.
Toilet or shower not draining? Water bill high? So many issues you want to cry? Call Mr. Rooter of Jacksonville. Have your number 2 business serviced by your number 1 plumber. Let us do your dirty work. Call us today.
Mr. Rooter, Mr. Rooter. 1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. He's Hacker.
So much so that I had to ask around. I'm like, hey, I'm kind of a nice guy, right?
Hacker is an ass.
I try, as I'm getting into my old age at 39 years old, try not to let things bother me. Just know that I'm ultra soft.
And he doesn't shy away from opinions.
See Baker Mayfield throw 4 passes, but I get to see this homeless guy return a ball for a touchdown.
It's Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
And a very good Wednesday evening to you, Jacksonville. It is Hacker After Dark, 1010XL 92.5 FM with Dylan Denmark. The Hacker Ryan Green with you. Glad you are with us. Middle part of the week, getting ready for what is a big football weekend. Are you kidding me? State high school football playoffs, round 1, Friday night, all over Northeast Florida. Boy, a really good Saturday from Michigan and Penn State. You got Ole Miss, Georgia. You got Florida State hosting Miami. You got Florida, LSU, 7:30 on the SEC Network. I mean, it doesn't get a whole lot bigger than the SEC Network for Florida and LSU, 7:30 there in Baton Rouge. And, of course, the Jaguars back on the field on Sunday as they take on the San Francisco 49ers in what is one of the marquee games in the NFL Week 10 slate. So we got a ton to do tonight. We are with you till 10 o'clock as always, and we are glad you are with us. To say that we are jam-packed tonight, well, that would be an understatement. Coming up later on in the program, Connor O'Gara, SaturdayDownSouth.com, as we will preview all the college football action coming up this weekend in the 9 o'clock, say 9:15 area. My friend Matt Verderam, Monday Morning Quarterback and Sports Illustrated. We'll talk Jaguars. We'll talk AFC South. I was telling Rick, Matt is new to SI and the Monday Morning Quarterback, but he's already beginning to be one of my favorite guys to talk to. If you haven't had the chance to listen to my conversations with Matt Verderam, he's a trip. I think you're going to enjoy him, and he comes up at about 9:15. But in hour number 1, it's all about the Jacksonville Jaguars and you, the Jaguar fans. Coming up at about 8:40, Cecil Shorts, former Jaguar wide receiver, makes his weekly stop here on Hacker After Dark. We have Cecil every Wednesday, and we will preview the Jags and the 49ers. But coming up in less than 15 minutes, Danny Kanell, former Florida State quarterback. You see him now on CBS Sports HQ, and that's where we will begin because Danny Kanell had some interesting comments regarding the Jaguar fan base yesterday. And every night here on Hacker After Dark, we give you a big deal of the night and Dylan Denmark. Let's do that right now.
Time now for the big deal of the night.
What's the big deal?
What is the big deal?
No big deal.
It is a big deal.
On Hacker After Dark.
The Jacksonville Jaguar fan base, you, the hardworking men and women of Jacksonville, Florida, get a horrific rap nationally. And I don't really understand why. The tarps have been gone for a long time. The London thing is out of your control. If you think back to the Titan game last year, the AFC South Championship game, you think back to that atmosphere against the Chargers there on Wild Card Weekend, and even go back a couple of weeks, that Colts game was fantastic. You, the Jaguar fan base, for whatever reason, get beat over the head by national people that don't really know what they're talking about, right? I have said for many, many years, even though a lot of you accused me of being very negative towards the Jaguar football team, Admittedly, I was for a large portion of the last decade. I mean, honestly, guys, what was there to be excited about? But I have never been negative towards you, the fans. You know, the Teal Street Hooligans, the Bold City Brigade, although I know what some, people, particularly in the brigade, have thought of me over the past, I have always been very complimentary of them. I think they do a fantastic job, i.e. look at what happened with that road trip to New Orleans a couple of weeks ago. I think that portion of the fan base is terrific. But the fan base in general, you guys have been put through football purgatory for the better part of the last 15 years. I would argue with anybody. I don't care if it's Green Bay, New York City, Pittsburgh, Kansas City, you name it. I would argue with any sports radio host in any other market. I would argue with any other season ticket holder in any other market. You have the worst team in football for 13 out of the last 15 years, and let's see how many people show up to those stadiums. When you're consistently going 3-13 or 4-12 year after year after year, let's see how full Arrowhead is. Or let's see how full Lambeau is. Or let's see how full Soldier Field is. The Jaguar fan base, you really had nothing to get excited about. But yet, despite the loss after loss after loss, year after year after year with this team, that core 45,000 that we always talk about was there every single week, man. You know, I go on out in Kansas City all the time, and they were giving me grief about London and the Jaguar fans, and I told them, it's easy to be good and have a great crowd when you have Patrick Mahomes beating the crap out of people every week. Imagine going 2-14 year after year after year. Hey, Arrowhead, where were you guys in 2011 and 12 when you were one of the worst teams in football? I can tell you where you were. You had a half-empty stadium in December. I remember it well. You might have sold out the game, but your people weren't going to the game. It is tough to support a team that continuously loses like the Jaguars had for the better part of the last 15 years. But yet that core 45,000 was always there in the north end zone, in the upper deck, getting after it. Now that the Jaguars are good, obviously people have come back to the party, whether you want to call it bandwagoners, whatever you want to call it, whatever verbiage you want to use, people support a winning team, just like they do in every NFL market. And the Jaguars have a lot of support now here in the city of Jacksonville. That gets me back to the national media. And I know that some of you do not care what the national media says. You do not care what the perception of Jacksonville, the city, the organization, or the fan base is. But what fires me up in our line of work in particular is media has a responsibility, right? We need to be informed. We need to be entertaining, right? I always tell people, well, how easy is it to do a radio show? Well, back in the day, it's not as if you could get a copy of the Times-Union and say, all right, Jacksonville beats Tennessee 17-14, Fred Taylor 100. You can't just read the box score, okay? You got to be somewhat entertaining to give you a reason to listen. So in the media, you got to be entertaining. You have to have hard-hitting opinions. You got to be informed on what you're talking about, or at least informed to an extent that you feel comfortable talking about it. And recently, because the Jaguars are good, it is forcing people nationally to pay attention to the Jaguars that previously had not. To their defense, there was really no reason to pay attention to Jacksonville because we were terrible. But with wins comes exposure. And with exposure comes national folks having to talk about the Jaguars. I go back to Chris Broussard a couple of weeks ago on FS1, running his mouth about Trevor Lawrence and about the Jaguar fans in London and this, that, and the other. Again, the guy has no idea what he's talking about. I reached out to Chris Broussard to try to have him on Hacker After Dark, and I know that a message got to him or got to people that know him. I never heard back. Fair enough. Then there was Craig Carton last week on FS1, formerly of FAN, and Craig Carton absolutely obliterated this fan base because he doesn't know any better. I doubt Craig Carton has ever even been to Jacksonville, Florida. But yet he ran his mouth, and the reason he ran his mouth is because he doesn't know anything else to do. So he rips the Jaguar fans, rips Trevor Lawrence, whatever. Again, Reached out to Craig Carton, didn't hear back, whatever. Then Danny Kanell yesterday on CBS Sports HQ. He mentioned, and we'll play the soundbite for you here in a moment. Again, Danny's going to join us in less than 10 minutes. More on that in a moment. We're going to play the soundbite of Danny Kanell and what he said with Pete Prisco on CBS Sports HQ. And the London thing didn't even really bother me so much as he talked about kind of he didn't say it verbatim. I'm not quoting him directly here. But to me, I took it as questioning the passion of this Jaguar fan base. If there's nothing else, this Jaguar fan base has been ultimately passionate for a long, long time. What else could we do as a media, as a fan base? Our passion was all we had because we weren't getting wins. I was with you for the last 7 years on the fifth quarter. After that, the 1-15 year on the fifth quarter was brutal. Absolutely brutal. 15 consecutive losses. Leon Searcy and I, every week we came in to do that show. It's like, what are we going to do for 2 hours? The team sucks. What are we going to do? But we all got through it together. That was the down times of Jaguar football. Now the good times are here, and yet the Jaguars, you fans, are getting ripped, and I believe it's very unfair. To Danny Kanell's credit, most people, when they make comments like that on a national show, they don't have to come on that market and explain themselves. I reached out to Danny Kanell earlier today. He hit me back in less than 10 minutes. He said, absolutely, would love to come on. To me, mad respect to Danny Kanell. I didn't get that from Chris Broussard. I didn't get that from Craig Carton, but I did get that from Danny Kanell. If you have no idea what we're talking about, this was Danny Kanell yesterday on CBS Sports HQ when they were previewing the 49ers traveling here to Jacksonville on Sunday.
Home field for Jacksonville, because I think you hit on something. I don't know if it's the time difference is huge. For them to go play a 1 o'clock game, it's 10 a.m. for their body clocks, because I don't think Jacksonville, it's a nice crowd or whatever, but I mean, they're looking to go to London for a reason, right? I think that's one of the reasons they're exploring other options, but I think that is one of the more significant advantages they have. Well, we'll see. No, I don't want to bet. I'm just saying they have explored it, right? They've talked about it. I think they would like better support from their fan base. It'll be nice, but I think that's one of the biggest advantages they have, is San Francisco traveling.
See, the London thing there, again, I'm almost immune to that. I'll ask Danny about that, but to me the London thing isn't as important as when he said they expect better support from their fan base. I got to tell you, man, the Jaguars, for as bad as they were in the Gus Bradley years and majority of the Doug Marrone years and the absolute flipping disaster that was Urban Meyer, you could not have had a more supportive fan base. Again, go to any NFL market. I don't care what NFL market you name. Go to any of them. I always used to do that running countdown of the record since 2012. When it got to 40 wins and 118 losses or whatever, it was an absolute joke. And yet, 50,000 people still decided to go to those games when they knew the Jaguars had absolutely no chance of winning. But times are better now. The Jaguars, the stadium's full. The stadium will be rocking from here on out. And Danny Kanell made those comments yesterday on CBS Sports HQ. Again, I reached out to him today. He did not need to come on, but he got back with me, and he was happy to come on. And we're going to talk to Danny Kanell next. Jaguar fans, I know you were fired up at him. I know you were calling him every name under the sun. By the way, he knows that too. See, he reads social media. It was hard not to know the Jaguar fan base thoughts on Danny Kanell, but we'll ask him about all that. I'll also throw in a Florida State-Miami question for you college football fans. I cannot have Danny Kanell on Florida State-Miami week and not at least ask him about the Noles and the Canes. But we'll get Danny Kanell to share his thoughts on the Jaguar fan base. Is he going to apologize? Does he feel sorry for what he said? Or is he going to double down? That's next. Hacker After Dark on a Wednesday night in Jacksonville, Florida. Danny Kanell. Next, 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
Make the game last a lot longer with an extra quarter. It's the window world of Northeast Florida fifth quarter from Players Grill Mandarin. Brought to you by Osteen, Volvo, and Volkswagen. And Dr. George Bari and Bari Orthopedics.
This holiday season, sit back and enjoy your time with family and friends. But if you have relatives who always point out the stains in your garage, or friends who talk about the cracks in your patio. We're here to help. Shark Coatings can coat your garage, patio, or driveway before those folks come over for holiday dinner. So now, instead of politics and religion, you can talk about how Shark Coatings transformed your home before the pumpkin pie is served. Shark Coatings, we're ready when you are.
The experts at AMCO have been fixing cars for almost 60 years. Over that time, they've gotten more complex than ever. That's why our techs undergo rigorous training and certifications, so they can fix anything, including the most complicated repairs that come with some of the latest technologies. After 60 years, there's nothing we haven't seen or fixed. It's how we know cars inside and out.
Money tight? We can finance almost anybody. Find the AMCO transmissions nearest you at amcojacksonville.com.
What defines a hero? Dedication, loyalty, courage. Every day at AMCO, we serve heroes. For over 60 years, we've repaired and maintained the most critical public service vehicles. From complex transmissions to simple brake jobs with flexible financing and the extra safety precautions we need. The heroes we serve don't all wear uniforms. They're people like you. At AMCO, we're proud to serve all of you. AA MCO.
Family owned and operated in Jacksonville, Orange Park, St. Augustine, and St. Mary's, Georgia.
Are you ready for the ultimate happy hour experience? Look no further than Bellwether, downtown's undisputed champion of good times. It's Tuesday through Saturday from 4 to 7 p, with the exception on Friday when happy hour starts at 11 a.m. Rally the team and head over to Bellwether. The vibe is cool and the food is unbeatable. Free parking after 6 p on weekdays and all weekend. Bellwether Restaurant, where great food and the best happy hour in town come together for an epic win.
The year is almost over. Do you need cash for the holidays or want to be credit card debt-free for the new year? Call Loan Pronto today. Their Express Equity line of credit can get you $20,000, $50,000, $100,000 in as little as 5 days. Listen, if you have a ton of equity in your house and Loan Pronto can help you turn that equity into cash, you can access up to 95% of your home's value. Use the money to pay off all your credit cards, pay off personal loans, or start that home improvement project. You can get the money you need now and still keep your primary mortgage intact. So your 3% rate, it's protected. And with Loan Pronto's Express Equity Line program, 90% of the time, there's no need for an appraisal. So you can get your money super fast. Get the holiday cash you need or pay off all those credit cards before the new year. Get yourself on solid financial footing before the year ends and call Loan Pronto now. 904-999-1508, 904-999-1508 or loanpronto.com. Equal Housing Lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
This Date in Sports History is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
On November 8, 1997, the Tampa Bay Devil Rays named their first manager, Larry Rothschild. Rothschild would manage the Rays from 1998 till early 2001.
Do you have a septic tank at your home or business? You know the EPA recommends that your septic tank should be pumped out every 3 years, right? What about your drain field? Is it performing properly? Maybe it's time for a full septic system inspection. We're Duck Duck Rooter Plumbing and Septic Services, and we would love to help you with all of your septic needs. Give us a ring to get service scheduled ahead of the holidays. 904-862-6769. That's 904-862-6769 or duckduckrooter.com.
I'm getting vaccinated with Prevnar 20.
So am I, because I'm at risk for pneumococcal pneumonia.
If you're 19 or older with chronic conditions like asthma, diabetes, COPD, or heart disease, or are 65 or older, you are at increased risk for pneumococcal pneumonia. Ask your doctor or pharmacist about Prevnar 20, pneumococcal 20-valent conjugate vaccine. It can help protect you against pneumococcal pneumonia in just one dose. Even if you've already been vaccinated with other pneumonia vaccines, Prevnar 20 may help provide added protection. Prevnar 20 is approved for adults to help prevent infections from 20 strains of the bacteria that cause pneumococcal pneumonia. Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you've had a severe allergic reaction to the vaccine or its ingredients. Adults with weakened immune systems may have a lower response to the vaccine. Side effects include pain and swelling at the injection site, fatigue, headache, muscle, and joint pain. For full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138 or visit Prevnar20.com.
Hi, this is Dave Barker. Want to grow your hair back?
IHRS, right here in Jacksonville, is the only hair transplant clinic in the Southeast to offer multi-unit hair grafting and the 45-minute PRP treatments. Grow your hair back. Call now for a free in-person evaluation. 904-777-IHRS, 904-777-4477, or visit hairforme.com.
Come out and see the drill this Thursday morning for the start of the Lifetime Enclosures Weekend Open House Sale. It's football season, which means specials on glass enclosures with flooring all weekend long. Open house Friday through Sunday at Lifetime Enclosures.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Let's ring up another guest on the All-Pro Roofing phone line. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville, we are glad you are with us. The Jaguars and the 49ers, Sunday at 1 o'clock. Of course, you'll hear the game right here on your home of the Jacksonville Jaguars, 1010XL. It's the first home game in about a month's time for the Jaguars, and they're looking to get on track. 5-0 outside of Duval County, only 1-2 so far at Everbank Stadium. So yesterday, I'm minding my own business, and then all of a sudden, I see the name Danny Kanell pouring across my timeline, and I'm thinking, all right, well, it's Florida State-Miami week. Maybe that's why. No, that wasn't why. Danny Kanell had some interesting words to say about the Jaguar home field advantage coming into Sunday against San Francisco. So I thought, what the heck? Let me reach out to Danny Kanell. He's a good guy. And lo and behold, Danny Kanell joins us right now here on 1010XL. Danny, how you doing?
What's up, Brian? How we doing, man? I am glad I get to come on in Jacksonville. Hopefully, I don't know, I may not be able to show my face there ever again because the fan base is hot and bothered today with me. So we can discuss and see if we can reach out an olive branch potentially.
And look, I even said on social media, I like Danny Kanell. I've had him on. I hope to have him on again. I disagreed with your comments, but let's get into them. Basically, for people that didn't see it, you said essentially that you didn't think the Jaguars had a great home field advantage. You brought up the London thing, and that certainly got some people here riled a little bit, Danny. Just talk about your comments and how they were taken here in Jacksonville.
For sure. I mean, I would stand by. Pete and I was on with Pete Prisco, who is like the mayor of Jacksonville after spending most of his career in media down there. Now he lives in South Florida. We work together here at CBS Sports HQ. You got to consider the fact I'm working with him. So I like to needle him. I know he's a Jacksonville guy, so there's some of that goes into it. But what I said was they have explored looking into London. And now there's some semantics there over who's explored it. But there's definitely been discussions between the NFL and Jacksonville about potentially having a franchise over, across the pond. And with Shad Khan's ties over there with already owning a franchise in another sport, I think it makes perfect sense. To be clear, I would hate to see it happen. I don't think any NFL franchise should have to play any of their games over in London. I don't like playing over there. I think it's unnecessary. I think we're trying to force feed our sport, America's sport, over into Europe, so I can't stand it. So that's where I kind of stood there. And I don't think there was anything inaccurate about that there have been discussions about Jacksonville playing over in London, potentially even putting a franchise. And if Jacksonville was willing to move, that it potentially be them and that they would be one of the prime targets that the NFL would consider. Is that fair? Is that truth or is that false?
Look, Jaguar fans don't like playing in London, and the idea of playing two games over in London was always negative here unless one is a road game, which this year, of course, was. But I think, Danny, some of the problem the Jaguar fans have, and look, you played at Florida State. You're from the state of Florida. You're very close to the city of Jacksonville. Jaguar fans get a bad rap, all right? People bring up tarps and people bring up London, and before that they were moving to L.A., right? I mean, you think back to the playoff game against the Chargers. You think back to last year against the Titans, even this year against the Colts. I mean, they do have a very passionate fan base that, to me, is somewhat ridiculed unfairly at times.
I think that is 100% fair, and I hate that for Jacksonville. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that they're a newer franchise. You know, like they are one of the expansion franchises who have not been around 50 or 60 years since the inception of the NFL, some of the blue bloods across there. Here's what I would think differentiates it. Like, I don't think any player in the NFL thinks, man, that's going to be – and now take this with context. We're really going to have to worry about crowd noise, about hostility. Every place is loud. I mean, if you get 50,000 or more fans gathered in an environment, it's going to be loud where there's going to be crowd noise issues. But I don't think they're up there with Arrowhead or Lambeau or, any of the other stadiums up there that are really kind of known as the significant home field advantages. That's where I was kind of getting at with Pete, because he was making it sound like it's this impossible place to play. And then what I kind of wanted to reiterate was the point that I was trying to make was that what I think will be more challenging than dealing with fans, because NFL players are used to dealing with loud environments, hostile environments, was the time change. The fact that San Francisco, a West Coast team, is having to come over to face a team on the East Coast that will be a 10 o'clock for their body clock time. So that was really the point that I was trying to make. I love Jacksonville. I think their fan base is really solid. But I think when you compare it to some of the Blue Bloods, and this may be an unfair comparison because they've had legacies, they've had families pass down season tickets forever. But when I was on the Giants, when I would go to games, we would be 4-11. Last game of the season, awful season, it was packed. They were going to be sold out. And I think there are a lot of faces, and I think maybe it's a Florida thing because I don't think the Miami Dolphins fan base is great as far as top fan bases in the NFL. I don't think Tampa Bay is a top fan base in the NFL, and I don't think Jacksonville is a top fan base in the NFL. Probably because they don't have that legacy where it's passed down generation to generation. And most fan bases in Florida are fair weather fans where if you're not very good, then you're not going to see a lot of fans in the stadiums. I saw that in Atlanta. I was on the Falcons. I think it's a horrific fan base. They're a very front running crowd. And I think that's totally normal though. And I think I would expect Jacksonville to be packed when it's a playoff game like it was last year, or like it's a game against the 49ers and they're, leading atop their division and have a chance to have a season that's really special. So I think they're doing what they should do. And if I came across as saying they're a bad fan base, I would apologize to that because I guess every fan base has its differences. And I would say Jacksonville is a really solid fan base.
Couple of more for former Florida State quarterback Danny Kanell. One of the responses I got, and I want to throw it at you, look, Chris Broussard on FS1, he runs his mouth about the Jaguars constantly. He's an NBA guy. He doesn't know what he's talking about half the time. We take it with a grain of salt. Then you got a guy like Craig Carton up with FAN, or I guess he's on FS1 now. Same thing. He ran his mouth about the Jaguar fan base last week to a ridiculous level. But again, a New York guy, he's probably never stepped foot in Jacksonville, Florida. We take what he says with a little bit of a grain of salt. But a portion of the Jaguar fan base is Florida State fans, and Danny Kanell is one of their guys. And when they see one of their guys on a format like CBS Sports, they feeling like you ripping into them a little bit, I think that struck a nerve more than with what a Broussard ever says or a Carton ever says. And I'm sure you can appreciate that.
Sure, absolutely. I don't want to be lumped into, some guys that are just taking cheap shots at a fan base. The way we were kind of having this conversation, I thought it was valid. I didn't think it was unfair. I thought the things that I brought up were pretty valid. And again, I don't want to just trash a fan base to trash a fan base. From my experience, now I played in Jacksonville. I actually was talking to Pete Prisco about this when we were all fair. So my rookie year, we came down when I was in the Giants and got blown out, by the way. And Pete was like, hey, they averaged 70,000 that year. And I was like, I didn't remember it being a place that was hard to operate in. Like, you go into a lot of road environments, you really have to worry about the crowd noise. And Pete said that was because when the franchise started, it was more of a wine and cheese crowd. You had a lot of rich people that had scooped up the tickets just because it was kind of a thing to do. And he said it wasn't known for them. So that was my experience, that it wasn't a top place to play in, like as far as crowd noise. That was the only point I was trying to make. I actually thought all the people ripping into me were Gator fans, and since the Gators are garbage this year, I thought that was perfect for them to pick up the slack where they're and their frustration there and bring it out on me there. If there are Florida State fans that are Jacksonville stands, I apologize to them and them only.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm 40 years old, so I'm kind of the crowd that Pete's talking about. When the team got here, I was 12. Right, but now I have my own family. I've grown up with the team. There's a couple of fan bases here called the Bold City Brigade, the Teal Street Hooligans. I would go back and watch the New Orleans game from a couple Thursday nights ago on Amazon, and the amount of Jaguar fans that invaded the Dome was a huge number. If you go back and watch that post-game show, the Jaguars have a very passionate fan base because they have been raked over the coals for a long time by media members, and I appreciate you coming on and explaining yourself to the game. I mean, obviously it's going to be a really good game down here on Sunday. What's your take on Trevor, the Jaguars, and your thoughts on the game on Sunday?
So the irony in all of this is I actually like Jacksonville not only to cover, but to win the game. Like, I actually do like their chances in this one. I think this is not a knock to the fan base at all. I think this feels like the biggest game of the year for Jacksonville, and I think it should. They are on the cusp of potentially having a really special season. They're one of the best teams in the AFC, and the 49ers come in reeling somewhat. They've lost 3 games in a row with a quarterback that is very young and inexperienced. I know Brock Purdy had a ton of success last year, but for the first time in his career, he's really facing some adversity where people are starting to challenge, is this the guy from our franchise? Mildly concerned about the addition of Chase Young on the defensive line. That was the move that the 49ers made at the trade deadline, trying to block him and Bosa on the other side and that really intimidating defensive line that they've got. I think that could be a challenge, but I think this is where Trevor Lawrence's mobility could come into play. And I think Jacksonville is a really good team. I think they're better than the 49ers, so I think they win this game at home with the home crowd going nuts. How's that, Ryan? And I think it's going to be a party in Jacksonville. It is a great spot to party. There's no denying that. It's probably because of all the Florida State and Florida fans that live there.
That's exactly right. Danny, I know you're busy. Leave us with this. I can't have Danny Cannell on without asking you Florida State, Miami. Now, I know you were kind of getting fired up last night when the rankings came out. Again, Florida State 4. I think that's a joke. They got a much better resume than Michigan. You could argue a better resume than Georgia. Yet the committee has told us, Danny, your alma mater can't lose a game, it looks like. If they lose a game, they're probably not going to the playoff. Your thoughts on Miami rolling in on Saturday?
Oh, I think it's a good opportunity for Florida State. Something to keep an eye on is the health of those wide receivers, Johnny Wilson and Keon Coleman on the outside. Both of them did not play against Pitt, did not impact Jordan Travis whatsoever, threw for 360 yards. But the offense did not click the same. It was still a little bit off because they didn't have 2 of their best weapons. Boy, Miami needs this game desperately. Tyler Van Dyke has really struggled. This has been an underwhelming season for the Miami Hurricanes. I think if Florida State handles their business, goes out, plays the way that they should and are capable of, I think they'll win. The 14 and a hook kind of makes me nervous. Like if you were looking for a gambling angle, I think Florida State wins by 2 touchdowns. I don't know if it's much more than that, but when I say that, Florida State as a touchdown favorite last year went down to Miami and won 45-7 in a complete blowout. Florida State is just in a better spot as a program right now with a championship run on the line. I'll say the Florida State Seminoles get it done there at Doak Campbell.
Danny Cannell. Danny, mad respect. I know Jaguar fans were giving it to you pretty good for the last 24 hours on social media. For you to come on here in Jacksonville, a lot of guys in your position would not do that. We really appreciate it. Thank you for explaining your comments, brother, and we'll talk again soon.
Trust me, nobody gives me a harder time than Pete Prisco holding me accountable. He was attacking me the minute I said it out of my mouth, and he's been after me all day here at the office. So it did not go unnoticed. But, yeah, I will always come on in Jacksonville.
There you go, Danny Cannell. And, look, again, guys in his position, we would love for everybody to come on that makes comments about our city and about our fan base because goodness knows it happens more times than not. But 99% of the time, they will not come on to respond or explain themselves. For Danny Cannell to come on and do that, I do respect Danny Cannell for doing that because honestly, even though I consider him a friend, even though I was going to rip him, quite frankly, had he not responded, he did. 10 minutes into the text that I sent him, he got right back to me, he came on. And the points that he made, do I agree with all of them? No, but you got to consider an outside point of view looking in. He doesn't live here. Now, he lives in South Florida. He covers mainly college football, but he's starting to expand to more NFL coverage on CBS Sports HQ. And whether it's fair or not, when you talk about the best home fields in the NFL, well, yeah, Arrowhead is on that list, right? I mean, you think about the great home field advantages that you got. Philadelphia is on that list. Now, think about that. Why would Arrowhead and Philadelphia be on that list? Well, they're 2 of the best teams, if not the 2 best teams in the NFL right now. They support good, winning football teams. Anybody that's good is going to have a good home field advantage. And the Jaguars have been awful for 15 years. So when teams and media turn on Jaguar games over the last 15 years, and the Jaguars are getting their head beat in and finishing another 3-13 campaign, Everbank Stadium is probably not seeming like it's a hard place to go into and win. And to this point this year, and we talked about this last night, the Jaguars are 5-0 outside of Duval County. They're 1-2 at Everbank Stadium. Their 2 losses have come at home. That needs to change beginning on Sunday against San Francisco. So the London stuff aside, I think Cannell was wrong there. Prisco basically called him out on it today. I wasn't going to attack him for that as much as Pete already did. My main motivation for having him on was when he was talking about the passion of the Jaguar fan base, because you are a very passionate fan base, and I want more people to know that, and I think it's very unfair when people go on a national TV show, national radio show, or national podcast and rip a fan base when, quite frankly, they don't know what they're talking about. So I'm happy Danny Kanell came on. I'm happy he heard our side of it. I'm happy he gave his side of it. And the irony is, like he said, he's actually picking the Jaguars to win the game outright and go to 7-2 on the year, and that's certainly something we all hope for. Again, you'll hear it right here on 1010XL, 1 o'clock, the Jaguars and the San Francisco 49ers. More on the Jaguars coming up next. Cecil Shorts, former Jaguar wide receiver. He's with us every week here on Hacker After Dark. Let's talk about the bye week. Let's talk about Trevor Lawrence. Let's look at San Francisco, and we'll also look around the rest of the AFC South. Cecil Shorts, next on Hacker After Dark.
Catch high school football play-by-play on 1010XL.
It's round 1 of Region 1 2M playoffs. Bishop Kenny at Bowles. Friday night at 7:30 on 1010 AM and 92.5 FM.
The best time of the year for blue crabs right now at the Blue Crab Crab House. They've been open since 1996, and they are a staple here in Duval. Sundays, you have the Bloody Mary specials. Mimosas as well, $2.50 noon until 5 o'clock. Of course, each and every Tuesday, $2 margaritas. Wednesday, $1 oysters. Right off of San Jose on Julington Creek Road, it is the Blue Crab Crab House.
Men suffering from erectile dysfunction or PE, frustrated taking pills that don't work. Here's a message from Prime Men's Medical Center.
I'm Dr. Simovitz. Prime Men's Medical Center offers breakthrough treatments with men lasting longer than ever without pain or surgery.
Call now. Your consultation and first treatment are free. You'll see instant results right in the office. Call Prime Men's Medical Center now. 904-664-8217. That's 904-664-8217.
So I'm here with Danny Van Sickle, director of the Electrical Training Alliance. Danny, tell me about your program.
Hey, Rick, we're a 5-year electrical apprenticeship. Our students start out making over $30,000 a year and right now graduate making over $80,000 a year, including benefits. There is no tuition and no student debt. You just have to apply and get accepted.
Did you say no tuition and no student debt?
You heard that right, Rick. Once you're accepted into the program, your only costs are the books and the course fees, around $700 a year.
Wow, that sounds like an amazing opportunity. How can I learn more?
Just go to etajax.org and you can apply there.
Apply by May 23rd.
Pastor Joby Martin here with the Church of 1122. We are honored once again to partner with the Boys and Girls Club of Northeast Florida for the Great Futures Weekend, which includes golf and Mackenzie's 5K run at the esteemed TPC Stadium course. Help us continue to honor Mackenzie Wilson's legacy. That's Friday and Saturday, November 17th and 18th. You can golf or you can run. It'll be a great time. Additional info at MackenzieRun.org. Proceeds go to the Boys and Girls Clubs of Northeast Florida.
Hello, you're on the air.
If you miss an interview, you can hear it later on demand.
Listen whenever you want at 1010XL.com.
1010XL on demand. Brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Win cash prizes at UnderdogFantasy.com.
Hacker here, and look, football season is in full swing, and no game day setup is complete without the Sausage Dude sausage. I'm a sausage guy, and the Sausage Dude sausage is the best sausage I've ever had. Try their 4 terrific flavors, including Polish, Hungarian, beer bratwurst with jalapeno, and my personal favorite, the Italian today, by picking them up at any Publix in the Jacksonville area. Football and sausage, it's a winning combination. Go get the Sausage Dude sausage at any Publix in the Jacksonville area right now.
At the First Coast YMCA, you'll find much more than just a gym. We offer many ways to help you be active, reach weight loss goals, and find your inner strength while you connect with your community. Family memberships at the Y include unlimited group exercise classes, childcare while you work out, and youth sports participation. It's easy to join the Y and affordable for all. Plus, the Y is a great place to meet a new circle of friends. Visit the Y near you or online at fcymca.org.
Hey folks, Mike Dempsey here. You've heard me talking about Pella Windows and Doors. With great ratings and expert reviews, you know they're high quality and energy efficient products. So what's your next step?
Schedule a free consultation at PellaJacks.com or just stop by the Pella showroom on Phillips Highway. Their professional design consultants will guide you through your entire project from start to finish. And that's the quality and service you can expect from Pella Windows and Doors.
Allentown Mortgage gives you both a fast online application process and an expert mortgage advisor to get you the best mortgage at the most competitive rate in the nation. You can be a number at a big box bank and spend weeks filling out paperwork, or call Allentown Mortgage. Eric summed it up in his 5-star Google review. Allentown knows the mortgage industry. When the big boxes say no, they say yes. The whole process went very smoothly. Get the mortgage experience you want. Go to allentownmortgage.com. That's allentownmortgage.com. NMLS number 103917, 4810 Executive Park, Jacksonville.
Make a crucial catch against colon cancer. Hicken here for the Borland Groover Foundation. If you're 45 or older, the ball is in the red zone to get screened. The key to surviving colon cancer, early detection and prevention. 45 is the new 50. Get screened for colon cancer now. The Borland Groover Foundation is a nonprofit organization devoted to building a healthy and equitable community that is free from colon cancer. Visit BorlandGrooverFoundation.com for more.
Hey, so where do we tee off?
Tee it high and let it fly.
He's got a beautiful backswing. Oh, he got all of that one.
Tour news, local updates, and the latest gear. Cut a few strokes off your game Saturday mornings at 10 with the Edwin Watts Golf Hour on 1010XL.
Create great futures for young people when you run or walk at McKenzie's Run Saturday, November 18th. Join Boys and Girls Clubs of Northeast Florida for a 5K and 1 mile fun run through the stadium course at TPC Sawgrass. Register at mckenziesrun.org.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Let's ring up another guest on the All-Pro Roofing phone line.
Back here on 1010XL at 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. It is a Wednesday evening, and we are glad you are with us. The Jaguars and the 49ers. Sunday, 1 o'clock. Of course, you'll hear the game right here on 1010XL. Both teams coming off the bye. Both teams looking to get on the winning track. The Jaguars looking to win 6 in a row. San Francisco trying to end a 3-game losing streak. With that, let me welcome in my friend Cecil Shorts, former wide receiver for the Jacksonville Jaguars. He's with us every Wednesday on Hacker After Dark. Cecil, how you doing?
I'm well, brother. How about yourself?
Cecil, we're good. All right, bye week in the rearview mirror. Take us through it from a playing perspective. You get a couple of days off. The guys came back in on Monday. They were back on the field today. What's it like coming off the bye, knowing you got a big one coming up here on Sunday?
It's exciting. You feel refreshed. You got time to spend with your family. You got time to spend with your friends. You got time to spend with yourself. Hopefully those guys have been taking some time to take care of their bodies and get massages and, acupuncture or whatever their routine is to really flush out all the bad stuff going on and really get ready to make a run and have a big one on Sunday. But when you come back from a bye week, it's always exciting, but it's even more exciting when you have a big game like San Francisco. So them coming to town, knowing that they are a Super Bowl favorite, and most people eyes to either make the Super Bowl or even win the Super Bowl, and you're on a 6-game win streak, it kind of heightens things. So it's definitely an exciting time if you're a player coming back and this big game is upon you. You want to play well. You want to continue to get this winning streak going and kind of set the tone for the second half of the season.
So one of the things we've been talking about this week, and you certainly know a lot better than I do, they won 5 in a row. And, look, you can't help when the bye week is, right? The bye week seemingly was at a good time, 8 games in, 9 to go. But, man, they were red hot during that 5-game winning streak. Any concern for you that the bye week maybe derails a little of the Jaguars' momentum that they had?
No, I honestly thought the bye week was perfect just because of the logistics of the travel and the Thursday night games and just all of that wear and tear. Any player in the league, if you ask them, they prefer the bye week somewhere in the middle of the season, kind of break up 2 halves of the season. So it makes it easier on us. We can handle one half, and you can handle the other half. But if it's too early, then you got 12 games in the back end, right? Or if it's too late, then you're playing 14 or 13 games straight, then you have a bye week. So right in the middle is perfect. I'm not worried about the momentum, not worried about them, continue to be high because they have the momentum. They have that confidence. They're 6-2 right now. They understand what they need to do to win. It's a great opportunity during the bye week. And another coach has spent time on this is, okay, where are areas we can improve in? Okay, what about the third down offense? Okay, how can we be more consistent in this area? So it's great reflection time, and hopefully they can correct those minor things they need to improve on to help continue this momentum. But no, I'm not worried about that at all.
Former Jaguar wide receiver Cecil Shorts here with us on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Cecil, coming back off the bye, the Jaguars playing a very, very good football team in San Francisco. And it's interesting because you talk about two teams on different trajectories, both still very good, both have a lot of expectations. Jaguars winners of 5 in a row, the 49ers losers of 3 in a row. They're also coming off a bye. And talking to people out in the Bay Area, a very desperate 49er team. I mean, they still have games with Philadelphia, Baltimore. They have 2 against Seattle coming up. They're looking at this in San Francisco as maybe a must-win situation on Sunday.
They should. Now, I'll be honest with you, in this 3-game ski that they had some guys banged up. But I think they got away from what they do well, right? So this bye week, came, even though you kind of mentioned that is it a good time for the Jags to have a bye week? It's the perfect time for San Francisco to have a bye week. So Trent Williams can get healthy, Deebo Samuel can get healthy. They added, if I'm not mistaken, Chase Young and Randy Gregory, but they added Chase Young most recently to help that pass rush that hasn't been getting to the quarterback. But they desperately need a win big time. Philly's kind of running away with it. Cowboys are still in the hunt. It's just to get a solid seed and to kind of work your way to get home field advantage and the expectation that they have for themselves, they got to win this game, but they got to get back to what they do, which is running the football, which is in the Jaguars' favor because they're one of the top teams in stopping their run. But when you look at what San Francisco wants to do, they want to run the football and they want to stop the run. So for them to get back on track and to get that win, they have to get Christian McCaffrey his touches, continue to run the football, and then open up things for the play action pass.
With both teams, Cecil, coming off the bye, I'm curious. The coaches took a couple of days off, I'm sure, but they were back in the film room. They were back in the office relatively quick. From a fan's eye or even a media eye, when we watch the Jaguars on Sunday, if they've changed anything, will we notice it? Will we notice, okay, that looks different than what we saw in the first part of the year? Or will it be little things that maybe the casual fan doesn't really take notice of?
Well, I think a little bit of both, right? I think there'll be things where you notice, okay, maybe they're doing a different formation here, or maybe they're starting off in they're blitzing a lot more on third down, which they struggle with that, or they're playing a lot more man coverage. So there'll be some things that come to eye, and then there'll be little things that they change, whether it's personnel, whether it's a certain motion or screen or whatever the case may be that the average person probably won't see unless you watch the film and study it. But those coaches are in there scheming. They'll take 2-3 days off, but those coaches are in there trying to figure out how to get better and how to prepare for this game. This game is not only big for the 49ers, as you know. This is big for the Jacksonville Jaguars. This is a statement game, if you ask me. Like, this is okay. If you ask any media person, they expect San Francisco to be deep in the playoff run, contending for the Super Bowl title. So if you can continue this momentum, continue this run, you have an opportunity to really set yourself up to be like, okay, Jacksonville is the real deal. They're not the pretenders, right? They're serious contenders. So the coaches, they might take a little bit of time off, but they're preparing. This is a huge game. So any little thing they can find to help the running game, to help the pass game, to help the pass rush, to help the coverage, they're going to do it. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's some things that you do see widely, and there's some things that, like little intricate things, you don't really see.
Former Jaguar wide receiver Cecil Shorts. Cecil, one of the topics here as well, Jaguars are 6-2. 5 of their wins have come outside of Duval County, right? They won in Indy, in New Orleans, in Pittsburgh, and won a couple of games in London. They're only 1-2 at Everbank Stadium, right? Both of their losses have come at home. And you look at the schedule moving forward, 4 of the next 6 are right here in Jacksonville against San Francisco, arch rival Tennessee, Cincinnati, and Baltimore. It's about defending the bank, man. It's about defending Duval County and Everbank Stadium. Jaguars on paper right now are a better road team than they are a home team. They need to get their act together here at home, correct?
Man, they got to figure it out. They got to figure it out. And I'm not sure why that's the case. I don't know if it's they like being the underdog on the road, or they appreciate, whatever. I don't know. But I just know when you're home and you have to sleep in your own bed and you don't have to travel, they got to take advantage of that. Especially for a West Coast team, to come over to the East Coast. You got to take advantage of that opportunity. The time change, that does matter. So you got to find ways to win at home, find ways to be consistent at home. And I'll be honest with you, I'm going to call the fans out. They got to pack the house out. They got to be loud. They got to be into the game, in the stadium early, because the teams feed off of that, right? So I'm not sure. I can't remember how well San Francisco travels, but I pray that Jacksonville has more fans there and pack the house out and they're super loud and can make it a hard situation for the teams coming in. But yeah, I totally agree. Jacksonville has to find a way to win at home, especially as close you get to the playoffs.
You mentioned the time zone. You obviously spent a lot of time here in Jacksonville. You were in Tampa. You were in Houston. That's a central time zone. I mean, when you have Pacific teams coming over for a 1 o'clock kick on Sunday, does that matter? I mean, is that a talking point for the media, or is that actually a real thing?
That's a real thing. I used to, like, for example, if we're on the East Coast and we're going to the West Coast, like when I was in Jacksonville, we had to go to San Diego, we had to go somewhere far. If I was in Houston, even there, we left on Friday instead of Saturday to get adjusted to the time zone, just to try to get the sleep right, just try to get your bodies to rest and relax before the game. So it is a big deal. It does take a toll on you. So it's an advantage for Jacksonville this week that they have to come down maybe a day early. They have to come get used to it. It's a different type of weather in Jacksonville. So it's definitely an advantage. But again, they had to be consistent. They got to do things well. They got to be able to get off the field on third down and continue your drive, on third down on offense. I think that's one of the biggest things that come to mind for me. So it's definitely an advantage. They gotta win at home.
Couple of more for former Jaguar wide receiver Cecil Shorts. He's with us every week here on Hacker After Dark. Cecil, my head was about to explode on Sunday. I think I get too caught up in social media. Look, you're a former Texan as well. You reside out there in that area. C.J. Stroud was nothing short of spectacular against Tampa Bay, although I have absolutely no idea what that Buccaneer defense was doing with 46 seconds to go. That left a lot to be desired, I'll just say that. But having said that, C.J. Stroud, terrific. Yet I have people that refer to themselves as Jaguar fans, I think that's somewhat questionable, coming at me on social media saying after that game, I would take C.J. Stroud over Trevor Lawrence, wouldn't think twice about it. And I don't even know why I was interacting with these people. I knew I was talking to you this week, former Jaguar, former Texan, former wide receiver. I mean, I'll give you the floor. Cecil Shorts, would you take C.J. Stroud right now over Trevor Lawrence?
No way. C.J. Stroud's still a rookie. He's still trying to prove himself. You have something special in Trevor Lawrence. No doubt about it. And I'll be honest with you, I think that's weak for fans to say, I'd rather have C.J. Stroud right now than Trevor Lawrence. You have a franchise guy. You have him. He is special. And he's getting better each and every week. He's not done yet. He hasn't reached his plateau. He hasn't reached his ceiling yet. So for me, and he's the guy that won playoff games. He came back last year against the Chargers for you. Like, stay loyal to your guy. He is special, and he's only getting better. And this coach is doing a heck of a job with him right now. And I think CJ's doing well, but he has a long way to go. And I'll be honest with you, the Tampa Bay defense was not very good in that second half. I have no idea what they were doing. They were just dropping back in a simple cover 3, cover 4 coverage, or cover 2, and just letting CJ sling the thing. So I think me and you could have went back there and threw different passes. Now, CJ played awesome. Don't get me wrong. Exceptional day for CJ. And he has an extremely bright future. But if you're asking me right now who I'm taking, Trevor Lawrence or CJ Stroud, there's no question I'm taking Trevor Lawrence. He's proven, he's getting better, and he's a special, special talent.
And look, the Texans are 4-4, one of the biggest surprises in the league. So it's not a knack on them or on Stroud. He's fantastic. But come on, not after one game you're going to say he's better than Trevor. Having said that, if Houston goes into Cincinnati, Cecil, on Sunday, and they knock off Burrow on the road, that'll be an attention grabber. This is a big chance for the Texans.
It's a really big chance for the Texans because they got Cincinnati and then they come back home against Arizona. So if they can knuckle up and play well and grab that game at Cincinnati, you have a winnable game against Arizona. So you can mess around and be 6-4 after these 2 weeks.
And then the Jaguars roll in there. That's the next game is the Jaguars.
And then that would be huge. So that kind of change that kind of changes things if they can come in there 6-4. But it'll be a tall task because Cincinnati's getting their feet wet. I'm getting their feet back under them, right? It started off real slow. They're getting their feet back under them. And I think it's going to be a tough task for the young Texans, but they are playing well, man. They're playing well. It's just they have to be consistently good throughout the game. It can't just be in the end of the game or the second half. They started off real slow last week and then came on in the second half. So it'll be interesting to see what they can do.
So the Titans have turned the reins over to Will Levis. They made that announcement earlier this week. Right decision, in your opinion?
Yeah, man, it was time. It was time. I think Tannehill for the last maybe even, I guess, half of last year. Honestly, the last couple of years, we've been doubting media. People have been doubting, is Tannehill the guy? Is Tannehill the guy? And then when Levis goes out there and well, first of all, they drafted quarterback Malik Willis 2 years ago, and they draft Will Levis this year. They've been searching internally for another guy. You just don't draft quarterbacks back-to-back years, and you think he's the guy. You'll have other needs that you'll try to go with, but they draft the guy in the third round, the second round, and Levis coming onto the scene with a 4-touchdown game and be able to go down the field and then come back Thursday night and have a pretty good performance as well. I think he's the guy. I think he has a beautiful arm. He can make all the throws. It's by him getting more reps and more comfortable in the pocket. And I think they made the right decision. It's the best decision for them moving forward to try to win, but also take some money off your plate too. So interested to see where Tannehill goes in the offseason. But it was time, man. He's just not the future there for Tennessee. So I'm excited for Will Levis. I don't think that changes anything for Tennessee this year, but I'm interested to see for years to come how do they look.
Cecil, as we wrap up, Indianapolis is fun to watch, right? They got a win last week. Boy, Carolina, how would you like to do Charlotte sports radio on Monday? See C.J. Stroud do what he did, and then Bryce Young throws 2 pick-sixes. Yikes. But Indy at 4-5, they're hanging around, right? I mean, are they a viable threat in the second half, in your opinion?
I wouldn't say they're a viable threat. I feel like they will play teams tough. I feel like they're coached well, and you know Minshew, he's going to keep you in the he could keep you in the game. He could lose you the game too, but he's going to fight, right? He's going to be fiery. They're going to make plays here and there, but I don't think they're a threat for the playoffs. I don't think they're going to make a run for the playoffs. They'll be around a 500 team, 7-10 or 8-9. That's my guess, somewhere in there, but they'll be good competition for the AFC South, of course, and then whatever team they play.
All right, Cecil, leave us with this. Sunday, 1 o'clock, Jaguars-Niners. Who wins the game?
Oh, you put me on the spot. I'm going to say this. I'm going to say it's going to be a very close game. The game is going to matter on both ends big time. It's going to come down to the running game. If the Jaguars can stop the running game, which they are, I believe, top 5 with like 79-point-something yards a game. If they can stop Christian McCaffrey in that run game and make Brock Purdy and those guys one-dimensional, make him pass the ball, they got a shot to win. So I'm gonna say they do that. I think it's gonna be tough because you got more edge rushers coming off the edge now from San Francisco. But I say 24-21, Jacksonville wins in Everbank Stadium, allowed Everbank Stadium.
It'll be a statement win. There's absolutely no question about that. Former Jaguar wide receiver Cecil Shorts. He's one of our guys here on 1010XL, and he joins us every week. Cecil, we certainly appreciate it, man. Let's have a great game on Sunday. We'll do it again next week, my friend.
Sounds good. Talk to you soon, Ryan.
Get opinions, observations, and stories from David Garage.
Let's make a play for 1010XL.
Brought to you by your local Napa Auto Care Centers. Mondays from 10 to noon on Jaguars Today.
Let's go, Googans. Let's go, Googans.
On 1010XL.
Rick Ballou for Carlson Dental. You know, I've been telling you this for quite some time because it's true. I hate going to the dentist, or at least I used to hate going to the dentist. I had total anxiety, and then I tried sedation. Light sedation for cleaning and deep sedation as well for cavities and root canals. Folks, it's an incredible experience. So don't be nervous. Don't be scared. Go to CarlsonDentalGroup.com. That's CarlsonDentalGroup.com for all of your dental needs.
At ABBQ, they are turning up the heat this football season like no other. Picture this, 15 massive TVs strategically placed throughout the restaurant so you won't miss a single touchdown. Step into their huge outdoor area where the excitement of the game meets the fresh air. Here's the kicker, and this is a big one for me. They got the sound on blast throughout the restaurant for the whole game. Your destination for mouth-watering barbecue and an unforgettable game day. ABBQ, meet and drink with us.
Winter in Jacksonville is mild, but you still want your furnace or heat pump at its best.
Imagine a cold home when your heater isn't up to the task. Don't be left in the cold.
Call Duck Duck Air Conditioning, your go-to mechanical contractor for top-notch HVAC services across Northeast Florida.
Let us keep you warm and cozy. Contact Duck Duck Air Conditioning at 904-862-6769.
Duck Duck Air Conditioning, your comfort is our priority. 904-862-6769 or online at duckduckac.com.
WJXL FM, Jacksonville Beach.
Hi, this is Dave Barker. Multi-unit hair grafting is now available at IHRS and can give you 3 times more hair in one procedure over a traditional hair transplant.
Multi-unit hair grafting gave me more hair in one procedure and within my budget.
You can grow your hair back with this exclusive new procedure. Call for a free evaluation. Call IHRS 904-777-IHRS 777-IHRS 777-4477.
1010XL is a proud sponsor of Operation New Uniform's 10th Annual Heroes Gala, featuring retired Army Lieutenant Colonel and former Congressman Alan West. Saturday, December 2nd at Sawgrass Marriott. Operation Uniform is a free, life-changing program that helped me, David Trenholm, successfully transition from a 20-year career in the United States Navy to the business world. Join 1010XL and sponsor Operation Uniform's 10th Annual Heroes Gala today. Go to onuvets.org. That's onuvets.org today.
Electricians, innovators, and tech enthusiasts, listen up. Miller Electric is shaping the future, and we want you to be a part of it. From healthcare and data centers, corporate offices, aviation, and industrial facilities, Miller Electric is powering the most exciting projects in Jacksonville and beyond. We offer not just a job, but a thrilling career with great pay and incredible benefits. Visit us at millercareers.com to apply. Miller Electric, where your skills meet our vision, an equal opportunity employer.
What I was told was bone on bone. I was going to have knee replacement, and I do not like surgery.
Desperate to avoid surgery, Julie decided to check out QC Kinetics non-surgical regenerative treatments.
My daughter actually works in a Chapel Hill, North Carolina lab, and I sent her all of the information that I was given, and she's like, "Oh, Mom, this is for you. I've heard great things about this." She's like, "You need to try it before ever doing surgery."
Julie started the QC Kinetics natural biologic treatments right in the office, using her own healing properties to help restore her damaged tissue.
I know, my daughter was right. Yeah, it's nice when you've got that person you can go to who might have a little bit more information, especially on the science of it. QC Kinetics, it's life-changing.
Find out if you're a good candidate. Call QC Kinetics now for your free consultation.
Call QC Kinetics, 904-274-5522. That's 904-274-5522. 904-274-5522.
Hey, Jags fans, are you tired of roof leaks raining on your parade? Don't worry, Universal Roof and Contracting has got you covered. Their expert team of roofers will get your roof back in the game so you can focus on cheering on the Jags. Locally owned and operated, they've serviced Florida homeowners for over 30 years. Visit universalroof.com to schedule your free estimate today. Universal Roof and Contracting, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. License number CCC 1330747, CBC 1258484.
Time now for a medical recap. A health and wellness tip from Jaguars head team physician, Dr. Kevin Kaplan.
Strength and resistance training are some of the best forms of exercise you can do to strengthen your muscles and improve your body composition. It may also lead to important improvements in metabolic health, meaning your blood sugar levels are easier to manage, and it also increases how many calories you burn at rest. The Physical Activity Guidelines for Americans recommends resistance training twice per week in addition to cardio training. Let's get fit, Jacksonville.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. This is Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
So a pretty mixed response to my conversation with Danny Kanell earlier. There's some people ripping me for not being too hard on him or not, in their words, fighting back. There are some people that appreciate Danny for coming on. That's kind of where I'm at. I don't know what you want me to do, take a machete to the guy who's willing to come on the show and talk about his comments. I thought him coming on and talking about what he said, I think he knew the London stuff was wrong. Prisco basically called him out on that earlier today on CBS Sports HQ. And again, I didn't necessarily have a problem with the London stuff because that's not accurate anyway. My problem was when he's questioning the passion of the fan base. And he came on, explained himself. By the way, if you actually go back and listen to the interview, he was pretty complimentary of you, the Jaguar fans, right? He did, if you want to say, walk his comments back a little bit. Yeah, he probably did. He said something yesterday on live TV, didn't go over well. Maybe he thought about it a little bit. I know he's going at it with some Jaguar fans currently. That's just the kind of guy Danny Kanell is. He likes to mix it up a little bit. My one concern about all of this is how passionate the Jaguar fans are about Kanell's comments leading into Sunday. And my concern is, Denmark, and we talked about this last night, based on the ticketing websites that I've seen, the buzz that I've seen, there's going to be an awful lot of red in that stadium on Sunday.
I mean, San Fran is one of the traditional power. They're one of the longer standing franchises in the league. And we've seen this. We saw this with the Chiefs earlier this year. The Chiefs brought a lot of fans. The Raiders brought a lot of fans last year. The Cowboys brought a lot of fans last year. And the Niners were in the same organization as were the Packers when they came here for the season opener 5-6 years ago. It's all it's not taking a shot at Jaguar fans. These are organizations that have been around for a long time. They have a lot of fans everywhere. I don't see where the shot is there.
No, and they buy up all the tickets on all these websites. And again, I think for the Titan game, it'll be an astronomical amount of Jaguar fans. I think Cincinnati and Baltimore, because they're primetime games, those fan bases will not travel. But I do think there's going to be a lot of San Francisco fans in there on Sunday. And it's not really a concern. I shouldn't say that. But a guy like Danny Kanell, look, that'll be fodder for him, right? He's getting into it with all these Jaguar fans. Heck, some of you even coming at me for not being too hard on Kanell. And yet, if there's 15,000 San Francisco fans in there on Sunday, that will not be a good look. But that's what I anticipate. I don't know the exact number, but I know there's going to be a lot of red. What we need to hope for is that Jacksonville wins the game, so that's not necessarily a talking point. It was a talking point after Kansas City because all those Chief fans left with a win. If all those 49er fans are in there, they leave with a loss, it won't be as big a deal. But if the Jaguars lose again with all those 49er fans in there, it'll be the same situation as it was when the Kansas City game happened back on September 17th. More on the Jaguars, Matt Verderam, Sports Illustrated, and the Monday Morning Quarterback. Also at the bottom of the 9 o'clock hour, Connor O'Gara, SaturdayDownSouth.com. We're glad you're with us. Wednesday night edition, Hacker After Dark, 1010XL, 92.5 FM.
He brings intelligence from the opposition.
Still working for MI6, or have you decided to join the 21st century?
Hayes Carline takes you behind enemy lines. Brought to you by Pella Windows and Doors.
That's top secret.
On 1010XL.
Hey, it's Matt Hayes. Want even more excitement on game day? Then test your skills at Prize Picks, the best way to win big on fantasy sports. Just select 2 or more players, pick their projection for a wide variety of statistics, and place your entry. Simple. You can turn $10 into $250 just like that. I've got Kevin Durant scoring less than 31.5 points against San Antonio and Tua Tagovailoa passing for less than 286.5 yards against Kansas City. Now listen to this. Prize Picks is the only daily fantasy platform with an injury insurance policy, keeping you in the game even if one of your players goes down. Sweat it out, watch your entries in real time, and continue the fun by making picks on second half and fourth quarter stats. Take your game day experience to the next level with Prize Picks. And right now, when you go to prizepicks.com/1010XL and use the promo code 1010XL, Prize Picks will match your first deposit up to $100. That's right, $100. Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports, made easy.
Are you ready for the ultimate happy hour experience? Look no further than Bellwether, downtown's undisputed champion of good times. It's Tuesday through Saturday from 4 to 7 p, with the exception on Friday when happy hour starts at 11 a.m. Rally the team and head over to Bellwether. The vibe is full and the food is unbeatable. Free parking after 6 p on weekdays and all weekend. Bellwether Restaurant, where great food and the best happy hour in town come together for an epic win.
The year is almost over. Do you need cash for the holidays or want to be credit card debt-free for the new year? Call Loan Pronto today. Their Express Equity line of credit can get you $20,000, $50,000, $100,000 in as little as 5 days. Listen, if you have a ton of equity in your house and Loan Pronto can help you turn that equity into cash, you can access up to 95% of your home's value. Use the money to pay off all your credit cards, pay off personal loans, or start that home improvement project. You can get the money you need now and still keep your primary mortgage intact. So your 3% rate, it's protected. And with Loan Pronto's Express Equity Line program, 90% of the time, there's no need for an appraisal. So you can get your money super fast. Get the holiday cash you need or pay off all those credit cards before the new year. Get yourself on solid financial footing before the year ends and call Loan Pronto now. 904-999-1508, 904-999-1508 or loanpronto.com. Equal Housing Lender, NLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
Make a crucial catch against colon cancer. Hicken here for the Borland Groover Foundation. If you're 45 or older, the ball is in the red zone to get screened. The key to surviving colon cancer, early detection and prevention. 45 is the new 50. Get screened for colon cancer now. The Borland Groover Foundation is a nonprofit organization devoted to building a healthy and equitable community that is free from colon cancer. Visit BorlandGrooverFoundation.com for more.
When you want to be heard, send your opinion to the 1010XL text line, designed by Lifetime Enclosures.
Thank you for believing in me when the bosses didn't give me a chance.
641-1010. No texting and driving. Get your thoughts heard on 1010XL.
Hey, it's Matt Hayes. I recorded this only 3 days after starting Awaken 180, and the results are startling. 7 pounds gone in 3 days. I chatted with Mike Dempsey about the results, and he's like, I told you. He dropped 25 pounds in just over a month. I certainly have more than 25 pounds to lose, but with the results I'm having so far, I'll reach my goal in no time. The program is pretty much dummy-proof. My words, not Awakening 180s, of course. And why is it dummy-proof? It's because my coach, Sarah, does all the work. She built a plan based on my body, my habits, my taste buds for that matter, and all I do is follow it. I'm eating to lose weight, and it's a game changer. Stay tuned because these results will continue until I drop my pounds. If you're in the same boat I was, wishing the weight away, make the call. The solution for weight loss. Awaken 180 Weight Loss. 844-346-1800. That's 844-346-1800 or online at awaken180weightloss.com.
Men suffering from ED or PE, you'll see instant results on your first visit at Prime Men's Medical Center. For a limited time, your initial consultation and first treatment are totally free. You'll even get a gift that enhances performance in the bedroom. Call 904-664-8217.
Come out and see the drill this Thursday morning for the start of the Lifetime Enclosures Weekend Open House Sale. It's football season, which means specials on glass enclosures with flooring all weekend long. Open house Friday through Sunday at Lifetime Enclosures.
The best time of the year for blue crabs right now at the Blue Crab Crab House. They've been open since 1996, and they are a staple here in Duval. Sundays, you have the Bloody Mary specials. Mimosas as well, $2.50 noon until 5 o'clock. Of course, each and every Tuesday, $2 margaritas. Wednesday, $1 oysters. Right off of San Jose on Jewington Creek Road, it is the Blue Crab Crab House.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Let's ring up another guest on the All-Pro Roofing phone line.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville, we are glad you are with us. The Jaguars and the 49ers, Sunday at 1 o'clock. Of course, you'll hear it right here on 1010XL. Both teams coming off a bye, as the Jaguars currently on a 5 game-winning streak. With that, let me welcome in Matt Verderam of Sports Illustrated. He does a terrific job covering the National Football League, and he's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Matt, how you doing?
Doing well. How are you?
Matt, we're good, man. Thank you for the time. And all right, the last time you and I talked, the Jaguars were 1-0, and boy, a lot has transpired in the last 7 weeks plus. They go from 1-0 to losing their next two, maybe being one of the bigger disappointments in football. Matt, they go to London and things completely change. Now winners of 5 in a row, sitting at 6-2 on the year. Just your thoughts in totality, what you've seen from the Jaguars over the first part of the year.
Yeah, I think like a lot of teams, frankly, they got off to a slow start. I mean, Cincinnati got off to a slow start mostly because of Burrow's calf. The Chiefs had some issues early, and they got rolling. I mean, it happens. It happens. I don't care who you are. They had a game, tough loss to Kansas City, and all of a sudden a surprise against Houston. You're sitting there going, wow, what's going on? Look, they got right. And, honestly, Jacksonville's better than I thought they'd be defensively. I think Caldwell's done an excellent job with the defense. It's a group that doesn't have, a horde of Pro Bowlers, but Josh Allen's having a great year. And so the pass rush is better than maybe it was a year ago. And it feels like the secondary is coming together nicely. So, look, I think overall, defense is better than you thought. Offensively, they haven't been bad, but I think there's room to grow. I mean, Lawrence has been good. I think he can get to another level. Ridley, it feels like, is a little bit stop and start. I think he's got more room to grow there. And then, what you have in Kirk and in Ingram and Zay Jones. So, and ETN. So I think overall, Jacksonville's where I thought they'd be, well ahead in the AFC South, and now it's really more about seeding than it is wondering if you're going to make the playoffs.
Yeah, and certainly they have an interesting schedule ahead with home games against San Francisco, Baltimore, and Cincinnati, all in the next 6 weeks. You mentioned Travis Etienne. That, to me, is the one guy, Matt, that maybe nationally doesn't get the respect that he's probably due, but I almost think he's the MVP of the offense to this point.
I agree. I mean, look, he does so much for Doug Peterson in the sense that obviously he runs the ball, but then you can line him up all over the place. He's reliable. He's going to catch the ball. He can make guys miss in space. He can lower the shoulder. He's a Swiss Army knife in a lot of ways for Jacksonville. And so I do agree that, he reminds me a lot of Alvin Kamara when Kamara was at the apex of his career. And, Kamara was a guy who, he'd catch 75 balls. I don't know if Etienne's going to get to that number, but he's a similar type player where on any given play, run or pass, he can hurt you. And you've got to account for him. I think he helps to get advantageous matchups both on himself but also elsewhere, because if you're a defense, you got to choose. You're going to put a linebacker on him. You probably are. That keeps one bigger guy on the field that might help in other spots. So Etienne has been excellent, and I agree with you, Seth. He's probably been their most valuable player on offense this year. Matt
Verderam of Sports Illustrated here with us on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Matt, to Trevor Lawrence, and look, the stats don't tell the whole story. I mean, he's only thrown, I think, 9 touchdowns in 8 games, and I get it from the outside point of view. If you're in Boise, Idaho, as a casual fan, you probably don't realize how good Trevor's been playing. But Trevor is getting slighted a little bit by some of the national NFL media, if you will. Not you. I know you're very complimentary of him. But are you surprised how some of your colleagues nationally maybe view not only Trevor but the Jaguars to this point?
I think, to what you're saying, people – look, when you're a beat writer, you're watching that team every day. And the nuances of every little thing aren't going to get by, or at least they shouldn't if you're any good at your job. When you're national, as I am, there are other obviously around the league, you do what you can, at least you should be doing what you can, to watch every snap of every good to really good team, and you try to watch as much as you can as the bad teams, although I'd be sitting here lying to you if I was going to say, yeah, you know what, I'm going to see every snap of the Cardinals and Falcons this weekend. I'm not. It's not going to happen. But I think what gets lost is some people, unfortunately, I think there is a tendency, hey, look, I'm going to look at the box score because I don't have time. And that is reality. That does happen sometimes. I don't care who you are. But if you watch Jacksonville, and it's the reason I've had Lawrence right at the top of my quarterback range, he's been top 5 pretty much every week. He doesn't have the touchdown passes, but he makes every throw that there is to make. he can throw the ball outside the numbers. He can throw that corner route. He can throw the ball down the seam. He's incredibly efficient. And also adds an athleticism that I think sometimes people overlook because he's not Lamar Jackson running around at 20 miles an hour, but he can run. Like there's so much that Lawrence does to win games for the Jags. And I think, frankly, when the season's done, he'll have his 4,000 some odd yards passing. He'll probably have 25 touchdown passes. And at the end of the day, is that going to win him the MVP? No. Is that a really good quarterback with upside? Yeah, definitely.
Matt Verderam of Sports Illustrated. Matt, I want to get to the Niners and the Jags. We'll save that for the end. Let's look around the division. And, boy, Houston, probably the biggest surprise in the division, maybe the biggest surprise in the NFL. C.J. Stroud with a record-breaking game against Tampa, although Todd Bowles and that defense, my God, I don't know what they were doing with 46 seconds to go on Sunday. But having said that, Houston finds themselves 4-4 and a little bit of hope out there in Houston.
They had won 10 games total over the past 3 seasons, and now they're 4-4. So, perspective is a great thing. If you're a Texans fan, you're throwing a party. You're 4-4. You've actually got a couple quality wins, including over Jacksonville earlier this year. You're in the playoff race. Like, do I think Houston's going to make the playoffs? Probably not. But I got to tell you, do I think they're better than Pittsburgh? Yeah, I do. And Pittsburgh's in the playoffs right now. Houston boat raced Pittsburgh earlier this year. I think if the Texans played the Bills tomorrow, they'd have a halfway decent shot of winning the game. Depends where they are. If it's in Houston, I think they got a real shot. But, when you look at Stroud, he's the guy. Like, sometimes you watch rookie quarterbacks, and maybe they even have good stats, but then you watch the game. They're really sheltered by their scheme. And we saw that with Mac Jones. Like, just sheltered. Everything was kind of taken care of. That is not the case with Stroud. Stroud is just gunning it. I went back and I watched that film because I put out an all-22 piece every Wednesday for Sports Illustrated, and I focused on him for one of the pieces. He was spectacular in that game. I mean, there were throws he made. I just mentioned Lawrence being able to do it. Like, corners, like deep hole shots, 25 yards down the field, right up against the boundary, and he's hitting them. He's legitimate. I mean, if you're Carolina, with all due respect to Bryce Young, you are physically sick watching C.J. Stroud right now because that kid is going to be a star quarterback, and the Texans have to just be thrilled about it.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. It's only 8 games, right? Small sample size, but it looks like Carolina made a catastrophic mistake.
It's really tough to argue against. I mean, listen, my concern all offseason going into that draft was I love Bryce Young's tape at Alabama. And I'm not a GM, but I talk to him for a living. Like, you talk to people in the league, and almost universally the same thought was, listen, great kid, smart, but is he big enough? And so far, he's only missed 1 game. So the durability questions are yet to be answered. We'll check back on that in a few years. But he just has not been able to make the big-time throws. Now, part of that, he hasn't really attempted many of them. I mean, Carolina's got no offensive line, and so some of that's not his fault. But, when you watch Stroud, he can just gun it. And, people all the time equate arm strength with how far you can throw the ball down the field. That is not what arm strength is about in the NFL. How many times you try and throw the ball 70 yards, right? Arm strength is, I can throw this ball over your linebacker and in front of your safety, and I can do it on a rope from the opposite hash to the sideline. And Stroud does that repeatedly. I mean, I've seen multiple clips of him doing that this year. If you're Carolina, I think you just have to watch that and go, our guy can't do that. Sorry. Like, maybe he can be successful in some other way. Bryce Young cannot do that. That is just inarguable at this point.
Couple of more from Matt Verderam of Sports Illustrated. Matt, in Tennessee, the changing of the guard has officially happened. Earlier this week, Mike Vrabel says Will Levis is the guy. Ryan Tannehill is the backup. Titans sitting at 3-5. Not out of it yet, but they need to start winning pretty quick. Can they do that with Will Levis?
I don't think consistently. And that has nothing really to do with Levis. Levis has been intriguing. He should be the starter. And Tannehill's up after this year anyway with his contract. I mean, they were always going to make this move. But the Titans just aren't good enough. I mean, when you look at the AFC, realistically, Kansas City, Baltimore, Jacksonville, Cincinnati, Miami, they're making the playoffs. I mean, unless God forbid one of the quarterbacks goes down or something, they're making the playoffs. So that leaves you 2 spots. Buffalo, for all of its issues, I think is going to find a way into the playoffs. And then it's what? It's probably Cleveland. Maybe you want to argue Pittsburgh, but I'll take Cleveland on that side of things. Tennessee's not better than any of those teams. And Tennessee's already lost to Pittsburgh and Cleveland, so not only do they have to catch them, they got to be better than them. I don't see Tennessee gaining 3 games on Cleveland and Pittsburgh. I just don't think they've got the goods to get it done.
In regards to Indianapolis, as we wrap up the division, look, they're fun to watch. They lose games in miraculous fashion in the fourth quarter. Bryce Young gave them the game last week in Carolina. But at 4-5, does Indianapolis have anything left?
I think Indianapolis is one of those teams that are tough out. They might be playing a good role of spoiler here in December, but they're not going to threaten. I mean, Jacksonville's home free in the division. The only way they're not is if Houston just decides, hey, we're going to be way ahead of schedule, and we're gonna start contending right this second. I just don't see that happening. I think Houston's going to be right around 500. Indianapolis, look, Minshew is a good backup. He doesn't win a ton of games, though. I think what you've learned with the Colts this year is Steichen's a good coach. Steichen's going to be there for a while. That guy, I'm not surprised. I did a training camp tour. They were in my second stop. I was super impressed with him. That team found its coach. But the quarterback's an open question because, unfortunately, Richardson only played in 4 games out for the year. So it's just hard to say. But, no, I think the Colts, they'll probably win 7 games, something like that. And they'll be a thorn in the side if you got to play them.
Matt Verderam of Sports Illustrated. Matt, San Francisco comes in here on Sunday. You can hear the game right here on 1010XL at 1 o'clock. 3-game losing streak for the Niners. 5-game winning streak for the Jags. Both teams coming back from the bye. Yet I got to tell you, man, it's relatively early in the week, but I got a bad feeling about this game from a Jaguar standpoint. What's your thought?
I went back and forth on this. I'm picking the Niners, but really because of one reason. Kind of what you said. I mean, the Niners are just desperate as all get out right now. They have to win. Like they cannot continue to just sink and sink and sink. Where Jacksonville, hey, listen, I'm not saying you don't want to come out and win the game. And you're tied in the loss column for the top seed in the AFC, but there's not as much pressure on Jacksonville in this football game. Where for the Niners, you've got to get off the deck here. You've got Seattle coming up 2 times in 3 weeks, starting on Thanksgiving night. They've got Philadelphia right after that. They're going to win. But the Niners really have to win. The other thing is getting healthier. We'll see if Deebo can get back. Trent Williams will be back. That ought to really help them. I will say this, though, with Jacksonville. The key to this game is, can Jacksonville get up on the Niners early in the game? Because if you can't, McCaffrey starts running all over the place. They play action you to death, and Purdy can just throw all these safe throws, and then they're a juggernaut. If you can get up on them, as the Bengals did, as Minnesota did, and it starts to become predictable that Purdy's just got to drop back and throw the ball, that's when you can tee off on the Niners. That is when they go from almost unbeatable to extremely beatable. So for me, if I'm Peterson, I'm coming out very aggressive. If they win the toss, give me the ball. If I have the ball, I'm going for the throat. I'm not trying to kick a field goal. I want to get up 10 points and put you in a position, if you're the Niners, where, okay, Brock's got to throw the ball 35, 40 times. Because if we can do that, we probably win the game.
Yeah, it's curious. The Jaguars in years past, this is always the type of game they lose, right? And I'll be very interested because they're bucking that trend. They have Thursday night on the road, go to New Orleans and win. They wouldn't do that in the past. Go to Pittsburgh and win in that weather. They haven't really done that in the past when they were bad. We got to turn our mindset here. They're good now. We'll see if that translates on Sunday when they play another good team in San Francisco. Matt, leave us with this. You did it on Sports Illustrated this week. You kind of assessed the AFC at the midway point. How do you see it right now? Who is the biggest contender to the Chiefs, to the Ravens when it comes to the American Football Conference?
I think the Chiefs are the favorite until proven otherwise. And then Cincinnati, to me, even though they're 5-3 and Baltimore 7-2, but Cincinnati's a half step along. Cincinnati's right now playing better in a lot of ways than the Chiefs, but the Chiefs are who they are for a reason. I look at those two in one category, and then I think Jacksonville, Baltimore, Miami, Buffalo. Those are the and by the way, I'd put Buffalo last of those other, and you can mix up the other three however you want. I think those teams are all teams that I don't think you can call the favorite based either on the current situation or history, but I think if they continue to ascend and they play their best in January, they can beat anybody anywhere. So I think Jacksonville's right there. I mean, they just need – look, the good news for Jacksonville is they have some tests coming up. I know people might look at that and go, well, who the heck wants to play Baltimore and who wants to play San Francisco? That's a good thing before the playoffs. Learn where you are. Learn what it's like to have to win those games. I think this is a good test coming up here. As you mentioned, 3 of the next 6 weeks. These are big games. Jacksonville's got to find a way to win a few.
They got to find a way to win at home. This is going to be their 4th home game in Jacksonville. They're undefeated outside of Duval County. On the road and in London, they're undefeated. Yeah. They're 1-2 in Everbank Stadium. So they need to defend home field beginning on Sunday. Matt, tell the good folks here in Jacksonville, man. I know you got your AFC midseason report up. What else can people look forward to there at Sports Illustrated?
Yeah, the All-22 piece where I kind of highlight 3 plays throughout the week, so I think are instructive. I think it comes out Wednesday, quarterback rankings Thursday, a key matchup in every game that you can watch on Friday. And then on Sunday, right on Sports Illustrated, SI.com, you can check out my running column throughout the day. The second game's end, we update it with my thoughts on each team and what it means for the big picture. So you can check that out there, and you can follow me on Twitter. Just at my name, Matt Verderam.
Yeah, Matt does a terrific job covering the National Football League, and he's always gracious with his time for us here in the city of Jacksonville. Matt, appreciate it, man. We'll talk again soon.
Hey, you got it, Ryan. Anytime.
He's not the Department of Defense that holds the line.
The leader of the elite task force for the DSS.
It's the defensive player of the game.
Intercepted!
Catch the superior fence and rail defensive player of the game on 1010XL.
If you're looking for exterior solutions that provide you reliability and durability, it's time to call Armor Guard Exteriors. Whether you need seamless gutters or gutter protection, hurricane products, impact windows, glass lanais, or retractable awnings and screens, we've got you covered. Call My Home Team today for your 5-star experience at 904-906-8669.
Armor Guard Exteriors, committed to quality, and that's a promise.
1010XL is a proud sponsor of Operation New Uniform's 10th Annual Heroes Gala, featuring retired Army Lieutenant Colonel and former Congressman Allen West. Saturday, December 2nd at Sawgrass Marriott. Operation Uniform is a free, life-changing program that helped me, David Trenholm, successfully transition from a 20-year career in the United States Navy to the business world. Join 1010XL and sponsor Operation Uniform's 10th Annual Heroes Gala today. Go to onuvets.org. That's onuvets.org today.
Come on, admit it. Almost everyone you know seems to be playing pickleball now, right? So whether you just want to learn how to play or you're ready to show off your elite pickleball skills, the Y is the place for you. Visit our brand new McGuire Family Pickleball Center at the Brown Family YMCA in Ponte Vedra Beach. 5 top quality outdoor courts and 3 amazing indoor courts where you can learn about dinks, dill ball, falafel, the kitchen, and more pickleball slang at the Y.
Here's your 1010XL community calendar of local events and nonprofit groups helping people here at home.
You can play golf with Josh Scobie and other former Jaguars players and celebrities while raising money for the First Tee. November 13th at Deerwood Country Club's First Tee Open.
Your high school girls can join the Duval Tides girls rugby team. No tryouts and no experience necessary. Learn everything you need to know at Jack's HS Girls Rugby on Facebook and Instagram.
To walk in the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society Light the Night Walk on November 16th at UNF. Register at lightthe.night.org.
Your kids 6 to 18 can compete in track and field in the Police Athletic League. Sign up at jackspalsports.org.
Having a mentor can positively change a young life right here in Jacksonville. It only takes 4 to 7 hours a month to be a big brother or big sister and change a life forever. Become a big today at bbsnefl.org.
You can find out how to share your community event at 1010XL.com.
Discover the difference that local expertise makes at First Coast Lighting and Fans. Visit their showroom at the Avenues and browse high-quality products to match your desire for elegance, quality, and uniqueness at First Coast Lighting and Fans.
Hey sports fans, it's Hayes Carline for QC Kinetics. Look, are you sick and tired of living with that constant pain in your knees and back? Joint pain doesn't just keep you from doing what you love, it affects your job, your relationships, even simple things like getting dressed. It's time to call QC Kinetics. They've got 2 great locations here, Mandarin and Ponte Vedra. And look, you can get in. They have appointments available right now. This week, call them at 904-274-5522. You got to give them a chance. Hips, shoulders, elbows, they can treat everything with natural biologics from your own body. Powerful healing agents, highly concentrated. If you're tired of steroid shots that don't work, or if you're trying to avoid surgery, call QC Kinetics now to schedule your free consultation. Learn more about these exciting new cutting-edge treatments. Again, 904-274-5522. That's QC Kinetics.
Get ready for the games with Saturday Kickoff.
It's your Saturday morning fill of college football with Matt Hayes and Shannon Snell.
The Bueller Air Conditioning Saturday Kickoff.
The big game, the big matchups.
Brought to you by Sonny's Barbecue on 1010XL.
Create great futures for young people when you run or walk at McKenzie's Run Saturday, November 18th. Join Boys and Girls Clubs of Northeast Florida for a 5K and 1 mile fun run through the stadium course at TPC Sawgrass. Register at mckenziesrun.org.
I'm getting vaccinated with Prevnar 20.
So am I, because I'm at risk for pneumococcal pneumonia.
If you're 19 or older with chronic conditions like asthma, diabetes, COPD, or heart disease, or are 65 or older, you are at increased risk for pneumococcal pneumonia. Ask your doctor or pharmacist about Prevnar 20, pneumococcal 20-valent conjugate vaccine. It can help protect you against pneumococcal pneumonia in just 1 dose. Even if you've already been vaccinated with other pneumonia vaccines, Prevnar 20 may help provide added protection. Prevnar 20 is approved for adults to help prevent infections from 20 strains of the bacteria that cause pneumococcal pneumonia. Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you've had a severe allergic reaction to the vaccine or its ingredients. Adults with weakened immune systems may have a lower response to the vaccine. Side effects include pain and swelling at the injection site, fatigue, headache, muscle, and joint pain. For full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138 or visit Prevnar20.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Let's ring up another guest on the All-Pro Roofing phone line.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. Boy, a good weekend of college football coming up on Saturday. Of course, you got Florida State, Miami. You got a big one in Athens between Ole Miss and Georgia, and the Gators go to Baton Rouge. Florida looking for answers after last week's loss there to Arkansas. With all that, let me welcome in Connor O'Gara, SaturdayDownSouth.com. Does a terrific job covering the world of college football, and he's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Connor, how you doing?
I'm doing really well, man. It's an interesting time of year. I feel like this is when I realize very quickly on that we only have 3 regular season weekends left, and that feels just absolutely awful. But there are a lot of interesting storylines heading into the home stretch here.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I guess it's awful if you're a Florida State fan with the success they've had. Georgia certainly has enjoyed their year to this point. Connor, I'm not sure if it's awful if you're a Gator fan. At 5-4, Billy Napier 11-11 through 22 games. The natives are restless, Connor. Talk to them, man. What's your thought on what's going on in Gainesville right now?
Yeah, I think they should be frustrated. Look, we looked at that South Carolina victory, and I'm saying we because I'm including myself in that category, and we thought, hey, turn the corner type game for this Florida program to finally exercise some of those road demons with a nice late comeback after you're down double digits in the fourth quarter against a team that you should beat in theory. And they were able to do that. And since then, it's just been a disaster. And I think you look defensively at what Billy Napier's team has done, and you're like, man, how is it this bad? I mean, to have 3 consecutive defensive performances like they've had, it just kind of leaves you scratching your head and worried about this home stretch now. Because, the game against Arkansas, that was the one that you were supposed to win and have bowl eligibility clinched. And you would have been able to go into these final 3 games with such a different approach, because it would have been like, hey, look, we know we're not playing for an East title, but at least we can beat a team that we're not supposed to in these last 3, get to 7 wins, be feeling a little bit better, and then who knows what happens in a bowl game, better momentum going into year 2. And instead, now it's like, oh man, you're at 5 wins and you don't know if that 6th win is coming. And that's the tough thing. I think this is all heading in a direction in which Billy Napier is going to say, I need to get my offensive coordinator. I need to get somebody in here calling plays. I do think he's able to come back even if they don't go to a bowl game this year. But man, he'll be on every hot seat list in America. That's the hole they've dug themselves by losing that Arkansas game.
Connor, to me, and again, Connor O'Gara, SaturdayDownSouth.com. To me, and you and I have talked about this, I think the last time I had you on a little over a month ago. Look, Florida fans are not patient, but you can say that about any fan base really in the SEC. There's a lack of patience, but I think it's finally caught up here in Gainesville. They've had 6 head coaches in 20 years, right? They're averaging every 3.5 years of running a coach out of town. Some of those coaches deserve to be run out of town, i.e. Jim McElwain. Maybe they should have given some other guys a little more time. But with that track record, people think, well, you can just fire Napier and bring in whoever you want. This isn't 1998 anymore, right? I mean, it doesn't work like that anymore.
No, it doesn't. And look, I think you can kind of break down each of those instances and see spots where, look, it's felt justified. And I know, the way that things played out with Dan Mullen, with the year that he was having in 2020, in the middle of that, you would have said, oh gosh, Dan Mullen is setting himself up to be here for a decade. But things can change in a hurry. And that's true of the other end of the spectrum. Who knows? If they win 2 of these final 3 games that they're going to be underdogs in going into, this final stretch here to try and get bowl eligibility, if they win 2 of these 3 games, let's say they win this weekend at LSU and maybe they just win on the road at Mizzou and lose to Florida State or the other way around, something like that, very quickly it changes how we're talking about Billy Napier. It does. So as much as I want to say, look, you can't just be a revolving door of coaches, I do think we still need to open ourselves up to that possibility. As bad as it's been defensively and without Shamar James, I kind of question if they're going to find those answers there. But, I do think things can change. And Florida, I think, is too good of a team to lose 5 in a row and miss out on bowl eligibility. So who knows? I mean, this job is going to be a fascinating one that's discussed in the offseason. And that's under the impression that Billy Napier returns for a year 3. But yes, the patience is obviously wearing thin in Gainesville.
And look, the only one I could even compare it to, I guess Auburn's kind of had a revolving door as of late, but it appears Hugh Freeze has that team on the right track. And you alluded to it. The problem Gator fans have, Connor, I believe, they knew that what this year was going to be, right? 7-5, 6-6. I think they were realistic about that. But when you continuously have 10 guys on the field for your special teams, or when you have 2 guys wearing the same jersey out there, or when you get punts blocked and field goals blocked and you're running a fire drill off the field with 8 seconds to go instead of clocking it, costing yourself 5 yards, I mean, that's junior high school stuff, right? I mean, that's ridiculous looking for a Power 5 program to have that continuously happening week after week after week.
That's why I think Billy needs his OC. I mean, I think when you're the head coach, you have so many things that you have to worry about. And Florida looks like a team that always has something popping up. And that comes back to your head coach. That comes back to the person in charge who is supposed to make sure that you're not a total embarrassment in those areas. And I think that's where obviously they can improve on. And having these lapses in games, it's so difficult to stomach because we're going to talk about this Florida recruiting class in December and all the talent that Billy's bringing in. And it's ironic that he's doing what his predecessor couldn't in so many different ways, recruiting in the Sunshine State and how important that is. But if you're still doing things like that in the game, it is hard to overcome that. And that's, to me, the most troubling thing about what we've seen so far in the first 2 years of the Billy Napier era.
Connor O'Gara, SaturdayDownSouth.com. Connor, final Florida-related question. They play LSU on Saturday. I don't think the SEC did them any favors putting that game at night. But you wonder where LSU is mentally after losing to Alabama. They're out of the West race, and Jaden Daniels, at least at the time you and I are talking, his status is up in the air for Saturday. Where do you think LSU is mentally coming into this game?
It's a good question because, like last year, I thought it was interesting that, they were a tough team to really figure out kind of week to week. And this year, I think that they've been a lot easier to figure out. I think you look at this team and offensively, week in, week out, they just continue to ball. And like that, if Jaden Daniels is out there with those weapons, that's going to be a difficult thing for Florida to slow down, especially what we've seen, as I brought up earlier, about their defensive issues the last few games. But, you do kind of wonder about that, because you lose this game to Alabama, in which you see your starting quarterback go down in the fourth quarter. Obviously, Garrett Nussmeier as a backup. We think that he's one of the better backups in the SEC, maybe one of the better backups in college football. But you just don't know. You just don't know how it's going to look if you have to turn to him and he's going to be the guy. So who knows? Weird things happen in this game. 11 straight times in this rivalry in which it's been decided by 14 points or less. Blowouts don't happen with LSU and Florida. They just don't. So maybe Florida's able to kind of take advantage of that and go in there and at least make this a 60-minute game that makes you feel like, all right, maybe this guy isn't falling, and maybe there's some hope that Florida can get one of those final two, even if it doesn't mean getting out of Baton Rouge with a win.
Since we're in the SEC, Connor, let's go to Ole Miss and Georgia. I'm not sure if I can remember a more quiet 8-1 team in the Southeastern Conference in the top 10 than Ole Miss. No one's talking about them. Yet if they beat Georgia on Saturday, a tall ask, I get it, but if Ole Miss wins that game, all of a sudden, then they're a viable threat for the college football playoff. I mean, why is Ole Miss so under the radar, in your opinion?
They're under the radar because everybody assumes that Georgia is going to win this game, because Georgia has not lost a home game since 2019. They haven't lost a home game at night since 2009. I mean, that is just crazy to think about, the whole 26-game winning streak thing. Lane Kiffin entering this season had not beat a Power 5 team who went on to win 9 regular season games since 2011 when he was the head coach at USC, and they beat Oregon late in the season. So take that for what it is. I think they're quiet because they're out of the West race at this point, basically, with either a loss or another Alabama win. They're not going to Atlanta. So having that Alabama loss obviously hurt the conversation with them, even though they beat LSU. And that could end up being one of those wins against a team who, goes on to win 9 regular season games. But I think that's why the conversation is so quiet. And because it's not a rivalry game. It's a bit different than talking about Georgia and Tennessee and the history there. There's no history between these teams. I mean, they played once in the playoff era. This is the type of game that I'm looking forward to see more often in the expanded SEC when that happens next year. But that's probably why we're not talking about it as much. But coming into the year, I said I thought Ole Miss was going to give Georgia its best regular season game of the year. TBD on that, because they've had a lot of great ones. But yeah, it does feel like this is very under the radar, because Ole Miss is just under the radar as a playoff contender.
Yeah, even CBS passed on it. It goes to ESPN with the thinking that CBS wanted Georgia and Tennessee. So even the networks think this game's under the radar. Yep. Battle of top 10 teams Saturday night there in Athens. That takes us to Tallahassee, Connor, with Miami and Florida State. Quickly to the Hurricanes. Napier's 11-11 in Gainesville. Cristobal's 11-10 in Coral Gables. A lot of correlation there, right, between what Mario's doing in South Florida and what Billy's doing in Gainesville.
A lot. I mean, no consistency whatsoever. One step forward, 2 steps back. Just horrible coaching decisions that have cost you games that you should be winning. It is really similar, because there's a lot of hype, a lot of build-up between the boost in support and the timeline of that. But you can preach patience in an introductory press conference all you want, and in year one, I think a lot of that still flies. But in year 2, if you're not a coach that's turning the corner, you lose supporters in such a quick fashion, especially in this state, and especially when Florida State is having the year that it's having. I think that's a big part of this angst that both Miami and Florida fans feel. And so, yeah, it's bad. And look, I think that not having the coordinator situation kind of figured out as they hoped that they would at this point, that is definitely lending itself to some of that instability that Mario is feeling right now. But yeah, not great vibes in Coral Gables, and probably pretty similar situation to what you're seeing right now play out in Gainesville.
Final moments, Connor O'Gara of SaturdayDownSouth.com. When it comes to Florida State, Connor, I think the committee last week basically told us all we needed to know. With Georgia and Michigan above them, even though you could argue Florida State's got clearly a better resume than Michigan and probably a better resume than Florida State or than Georgia to this point, I don't think Florida State can lose a game, man. I mean, if they lose one game, they're probably not going to make the college football playoff. Agree or disagree?
Yeah, they open the door. They definitely do it. Who knows? We could have some chaos. I mean, 4 more weekends of college football. Crazy things can happen, and especially even conference championship weekends. So TBD on that. they're getting knocked because they haven't been there, and the ACC is considered the worst of the Power 5 conferences. It's as simple as that. That's what they are getting knocked for more than anything, because it's also the fact that, like, I think people look at the way that things have played out with their schedule, and there have been so many times this year in which you've looked up at halftime and thought, oh, wow, Florida State is going to be in for a dogfight. And then you look up at the final score and they've won by 3 scores. Nobody realizes that they've won all of these games by 3 scores post Clemson. It feels like they're in these close games because they get off to these slow starts. And, obviously they're really banged up at receiver right now. So who knows? I mean, a loss could surface if they're not able to kind of stay healthy down the stretch here. And that plays such a big part in how you're perceived and the strength of your team. But, yeah, they are getting knocked. I didn't think they would get knocked at this point of the season with that LSU win, even though it hasn't aged as well as they hoped. I am a bit surprised to see the conversation with them to where now there are some people wondering if Washington's going to leapfrog them and Florida State's going to be at 5 in these rankings tonight. So who knows? But I think Florida State just needs to have that one-trick mind, undefeated, and you won't have to answer any of those questions.
Is Miami their toughest roadblock remaining, or potentially, I guess, Louisville in the ACC championship game?
Yeah, Louisville in the ACC championship. Jeff Brom in a win-or-go-home scenario it's just kind of a scary thought. You just never know what he's going to have. And who knows, maybe Louisville's going to have, the multiple losses by that point. And it's going to be kind of playing with house money. That's what year one feels like with Jeff Brom at Louisville and the things that he's done so far. So who knows? I mean, that's a difficult team to game plan for. But yeah, I would say that's probably going to end up being their toughest competition, their biggest roadblock moving forward.
All right, Connor, as we say goodbye, who's your top 4 right now? If it was up to Connor O'Gara, who's in the 4-team playoff?
I would probably leave Washington out among the Power 5 unbeatens, and I would, I would go basic. And it's impossible to do at this point because obviously Michigan and Ohio State haven't played each other yet. Michigan hasn't played much of anyone yet. Not to say Georgia's resume is great, but at least beating Mizzou and doing so by 2 scores, against a top 15 team, I give them a little bit more credit for that. But yeah, I would leave Washington out just because post Oregon, I don't think they've looked great. And even in, the game against USC, they're able to win that game on the road. Not an easy win, of course, but defensively, I think they have some issues. So they've kind of lacked that consistency. So I would leave them out. And I would make sure that Florida State gets in the playoff.
Connor, give the website a little bit of love. I love SaturdayDownSouth.com. What can people look forward to here in Jacksonville when they head on over to the website?
Yeah, appreciate that. Your colleague, Matt Hayes, does great work for us on SaturdayDownSouth.com as well with First and 10. Matt Hinton does great stuff with Monday Down South. He's got primers ahead of each weekend showdown. We have a lot of great content that our news team takes care of. I write columns daily throughout the entire season, throughout the entire year as well. So tons and tons of great content gearing up towards the end of the season here. SaturdayDownSouth.com. As I always say, it is just a truly great one-stop shop for any college sports fan.
He's one of our favorites here on 1010XL. Connor O'Gara, SaturdayDownSouth.com. Connor, I know you're busy, brother. Thank you for the time. We'll do it again soon.
Absolutely. Appreciate it, man.
Now, today's takeaways, brought to you by Key Buick GMC, where our family dealership has been helping families buy vehicles for over 50 years.
And thank you to Connor O'Gara, SaturdayDownSouth.com, for joining us here on Hacker After Dark. It's going to be a big weekend of college football. Florida State, Miami, of course, Ole Miss, Georgia, and the big one in Tallahassee between the Hurricanes and the Seminoles. My big takeaway of the evening here on Hacker After Dark. Well, first and foremost, let me thank Danny Kanell. Danny Kanell, former Florida State quarterback, had some choice words, I guess, some thoughts about the Jaguar fan base and how the Jaguars don't have a great home field, and that's why they've explored London. And he went on CBS Sports HQ and said those comments yesterday to our colleague Pete Prisco. And normally, when a national guy says stuff like that about our city, about our fan base, they won't come on to talk about it. I mean, Chris Broussard, I've reached out to him. He hasn't responded. Craig Carton, I'm not even going to waste my time with him because I don't feel like talking to him. But I normally reach out to all the national folks, or as many as I can, that have these choice comments, and 99% of the time, they never get back to me. They never come on. Kudos to Danny Kanell. Danny Kanell did come on. I had him on back in hour number 1. If you missed it, 1010XL.com on demand. You can go back and listen to the interview. Also on all our social media platforms where the show is streamed every night. And I thought Danny did a fine job in explaining himself. It would have been very easy for Danny Kanell to just say what he said about Jacksonville and the fan base and then move on, but he didn't. He commented on what he said, and we appreciate him taking time out for us here on Hacker After Dark. Well, that'll just about do it for what has been an unbelievably busy Wednesday night edition here of Hacker After Dark. Thank you guys for hanging out with us this evening. We have a ton of people to thank. Again, Connor O'Gara, SaturdayDownSouth.com, previewing, again, a big weekend of college football this upcoming Saturday. Thank you to Matt Verderam of Sports Illustrated. Always enjoy talking Jaguars, AFC South, and more with Matt Verderam. He does a great job for Sports Illustrated covering the National Football League, and appreciate him taking time out for us tonight. My friend Cecil Shorts, former Jaguar wide receiver. He's with us every Wednesday night here on Hacker After Dark as we took a deep dive into the Jaguars and the San Francisco 49ers. And again, Danny Kanell, former Florida State quarterback. You catch him now on CBS Sports HQ, and appreciate him coming on to explain his thoughts on what he said yesterday. We'll be back tomorrow night on a Thursday, and we will do it all over again beginning at 8 o'clock. Dylan Denmark was your producer tonight. Dylan, great job as always. I'm the Hacker Ryan Green. And again, Jacksonville, thank you for spending part of your Wednesday evening with us right here on Hacker After Dark on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM.
1010XL brings you the orange and blue.
He's in! Touchdown Gators!
Who has the bigger bite? It's a duel in Death Valley. Florida LSU. Kickoff at 7:30 on Jacksonville's home of Florida Gators football.